Once upon a time, there was a piece of sushi. And when the sushi was touched by a chopstick, it turned into a cat. The cat danced happily on the plate for the entire restaurant. And then, randomly, a bunny came out of nowhere and chased the cat into the kitchen, and it was grabbed by a chef. The chef loved the sushi cat, and he became the owner. And every day, the cat chased all the mice away, and in return, she received food. She ate magic pudding and magic milk. And every day, that food changed her until she became a galaxy cat with planets and stars orbiting around her. That is a story by 8-year-old Renee, and it is full of wonder, innocence, and wisdom. And it's a welcome respite from our real world. But that's what a story does, right? It allows us to enter an extraordinary world where we gain insight and wisdom so that we can deal with the world today. In that sense, stories are instructive. And in our writing community, stories are much more. Stories are our mentors, powerful mentors. But how do we hear their time-tested wisdom? Well, we look to a story map or a story structure. Now, you may have heard of Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, which is usually depicted as a circle, but that proved to be a little bit difficult to teach fourth graders and up. So we reconstructed it, and we call it a WV map. So in the last 10 years, we've been working with our team of young writers and teens to develop this map in order to tell stories, to analyze literature and movies, and to even pull out a couple nuggets of wisdom from their own lives. But in order to really get to those nuggets of wisdom, we have to really see how this story map works. So I'm going to tell you a story, and it's going to be about me writing this TED Talk. So watch the slides and follow me because it's going to get ugly. Okay, in the beginning of the summer, I wanted to write 30 blogs. And it'll be all about creative writing for our students and our parents. And with my bowl of popcorn and my coffee, I was ready to go. I was in my happy place. And then I get an email from a former student who says, oh, he's going to organize a TEDx event. Great, awesome, congratulations. But he wants us to present. Oh, well, I just committed to 30 blogs, and the summer is in full swing. We're teaching students, and my mom, she's 89 years old, and she is losing her balance to the point where she's falling. And when she falls, she can't get up. Then I start thinking about my high school days, where I am sweating bullets in my English class, where I'm thinking about characters, plots, deconstruction, subtext, blah, blah, blah. Not to mention, I'm drinking a little bit of Pepto-Bismol at lunch just to settle my stomach because I'm such a nervous wreck. If I can prevent someone from getting into all that, then great, I'm in. So I email the organizers and say, okay, let's do it. The next day, I enter the wild world of writing a TED Talk. Test 1, I write my first draft. It is terrible. It is so bad. But, they're all bad on the first try. Keep going. Test 2, I write it again, and it is pretty good this time, but it is 48 minutes long. Keep going. Test 3, my wife, Sushen, who's also a writing coach, she steps in and says, you know what, I'm going to write this for you so that you don't have to do it. Yay, awesome, great. Well, her story is she's a 5-year-old girl. She's moving from Taiwan to Canada, and she has no English-speaking ability at all. And she's being pulled onto an ice rink by her friends and her teachers, and she is screaming, and her face is full of tears, and she says, no! And at that point, she realizes she found her voice. Yes, awesome, this is great. This is a great topic. We love it. We give the thumbs up, and we are so relieved that we have something. The next day, I secretly keep writing my TED Talk because I can't get this story map out of my head. And I get so excited, I give it to Sue Shen, and she says, "What? You changed the topic again? We're always talking about TED. And I have a book, and I'm writing it, and it's pulling it's pulling me from it, and there's a New York editor waiting on it." From that point on, Sue Shen and I are so tense, we don't even talk about TED. Now the summer is come and gone, and fall is coming up. We don't have time to prep for that. I definitely don't have time to prep for this TED Talk. And my mom has fallen, and I have these 30 blogs to do. And I forgot to tell you, I made a bet online, or a promise, that if I don't do these blogs, then I have to pay to a campaign that sounds like dump. Sue Shen says, "That's it, we are out of here. We have to pull out." She emails the organizers, and that night, we lower our heads. Now, I usually don't like getting out of the middle of a commitment, but I know our schedule. We are overextended, and we are losing sleep. At night, I go to bed tossing and turning, and my stomach churns. The next day, I get an email from the organizer's mom, and she says, 2 people have already pulled out. They're looking for speakers, and the organizers themselves have put up money for this event to fly. Sue Shen emails and says, "Sorry, we just can't do it, but I cannot let this slide." People are counting on us. There's our former student, his mom, who's been a mentor for us for many years, and our writing group. And I start to think, well, maybe this story map would be a great topic because it has allowed me some epiphanies and many of our students. So we get into all of that, and I start to think, maybe that could happen. And suddenly the demons of my perfection start to rise up in me, and it says, well, if you're going to do it, you'd better be good. And suddenly I start to get angry, and I am determined to face these fears. And I'm going to make it work. I email the organizers and say, okay, we're back in. The next day, I am furiously writing this TED Talk, and I get to a point where I love everything I have to say. It's everything I want to say about story. But it is an hour and a half long, and so I get panicked, and I start to cut everything, all the pages and pages, until it starts to collapse onto each other, and it is nothing. And I start to feel like my mom, who's wavering, unbalanced, and starting to fall. Look, I am not a published author of a big publishing house. I am not a professor of a university, and I feel like my lack of authority is starting to strike me, and I feel like a fraud. Then Sue Shen emails me and actually reminds me that there was a student in our class who never spoke. And many, many months later, her mom calls us up and says, "Thank you for telling my daughter about this story map, this WV thing, because she is continuing to write. She uses it in class, and every once in a while she'll come up with an epiphany that surprises her in her conversations." And from that moment, I feel those negative voices, those demons of perfection start to burn away from me, and I become someone else. Someone who will not throw away an opportunity to share something with the world. From there, I revise and revise. Many days go by, weeks go by, until I get to this point where I'm sharing this story. That is my story. Now, you may have seen through the story map I hope, that there are moments in your life that occur that follows it. And perhaps you might be able to pull an epiphany or a nugget of wisdom from it. And if there's anything that a story map can tell us, it is this: that we can pull ourselves up from the floor of defeat. In every section of this story map, even in the all is lost moment, there is a mentor or an ally willing to help us or shout out a word of encouragement when we need it. But we need to hear it. We need to choose to act on that advice. Remember Galaxy Cat? Galaxy Cat has her adventures, and she realizes that the bunnies that chased her and the mice that she chased are not her adversaries, but her allies and mentors. And from that moment, she becomes not just a cat with superpowers and can fly. She becomes somebody with a community that will have her back long after the story is ended. We as humans are storytellers, and we live by the light of our stories. Our job is to absorb all the stories we can, have our adventures, make mistakes, struggle out of them, and then tell your story. And when we do, we cannot help but become a catalyst. So here's your call to adventure. Deeply go into your special worlds, have your adventures, and tell your story. And when you do, we can all shine like Galaxy Cat. Thank you.